Okay,
All
I
right,
think everybody's admitted.
okay. Will the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for February 27th, which is a revised date, please come to order. This evening's meeting will be a virtual planning and zoning meeting hosted by Zoom. During this meeting, our procedure will be as follows. Number one, when you first enter the Zoom meeting, you will be in a virtual waiting room until the meeting host admits you. Please be aware that your camera, if you have one, and your microphone may be muted by the meeting host when you enter the meeting. You can turn on your camera at any time so you can be seen by others when and if you choose to. In order to run an efficient and orderly meeting in this virtual environment, unless stated otherwise by the meeting chair during the meeting host may keep everyone other than the commission members muted. You will still be able to hear everything said by the commission members, even if you are muted and if your camera is turned off. There will be opportunity for public comment during public hearings, at which time public participants will be unmuted. During the public hearing, the applicant will be invited to present the application, explain to the commission and others present what is being requested. The meeting host will share all relevant documents on the screen as needed. In addition, all applications and supporting materials for each application on the agenda have been available through the direct link on planning and zoning page on the town's website. Comments of town agencies will be discussed as applicable to the application. There will be clarifying questions from the commissioners, and the town planner will direct our attention to any additional items pertinent to the application. After all commissioners' questions are exhausted, those who wish to speak in support or in opposition to the application will be asked to come forward, state their name and address for the record, and make a statement. The applicant will then have an opportunity to address any questions or concerns raised by the public or commissioners. Once the public hearing is closed, the applicant is free to leave or remain for the balance of the public hearings and the regular meeting, during which the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of this commission and has a right to appeal to the Supreme Court if desired. Decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling the Planning and Zoning Department at 203-453-8039 or by emailing planning.zoning@guilfordct.gov after 9 a.m. All actions taken on applications tonight by the commissioners will be by roll call. All commissioners and staff will identify themselves for the record before speaking. Seated this evening are the following members who will please identify themselves. I am Sean Cosgrove, Chairman. Roger Joyce. Philip Johnson.
Hello.
Ed Sands.
Here.
Bill Freeman.
Here.
Kevin Clark.
Here.
Scott Emmon.
Good evening.
Welcome. It's good to see you again.
Nice new basement.
Thank you. It's coming along.
I'm not sure whether we have to seat an alternative or not.
Nope.
I mean,
Nope.
No.
okay. But Larry has another commitment, so but we're all seated, so we can proceed.
Mr. Chair, the first 4 items on the agenda are text amendments where the public hearing remains open, but the items themselves were tabled. So if you wouldn't mind, if we could have a vote to remove all 4 of those text amendments from the table?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, we'll hear a vote then. Roger Joyce,
Yes.
Phil Johnson,
Yes.
Larry Brazil,
I'm
No,
not so
Larry's
sure.
not on.
Ted
You
Sands,
keep forgetting me
Yes.
last time, but this time you remembered me.
Ted, you said yes?
Yes.
And Bill Freeman,
Yes.
and Kevin Clark.
Aye.
Thank you.
Scott Edmonds.
Scott,
Scott Edmund,
I vote yes.
and I will vote yes as well.
okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. The first item on the agenda is a text amendment for the ADU provisions. The applicant is myself, Ann Harchin, the town planner on behalf of the town of Guilford. This was a text amendment to clarify the provisions for ADUs. If you so choose, I can share my screen so I can remind you what we were looking at. Give me just a second. Okay, so my screen just blipped. I hope you can see this.
We should probably make it a little bit larger and
Okay, let me try to go here. Here we go.
a little bit larger. Yeah.
Okay,
And set the stage for this, because this
Yeah.
is a,
so the purpose of this text amendment was to clarify 2 points of the ADU provision. One was to clarify language that was confusing about ADUs and to exempt them from special permit requirements, especially if they're over 750 square feet.
Mhm.
And the second piece was at the request of the town engineer to change the language about driveways. Janice is concerned that with ADUs increasing in popularity, that we will have too many driveway curb cuts on main roads. And so she has requested that this language for detached accessory dwelling units, they shall be served by an existing driveway.
Should there be a mechanism for review in the event that there isn't? It's not possible, for instance, or
That's what we were debating last month. Folks were
Okay, gotcha.
concerned, just for your sake, just so you know, folks were concerned that there are instances where the second curb cut is necessary. So I don't know if, Sean, if you want to debate and then open up for questions, or if you have any questions for me.
Well, I think, what you and I had discussed the other day was the issue that Janice has is primarily relative to curb cuts is relative to safety. And I think we should consider, whether an additional driveway relative to an ADU is by right or, just should be by special permit.
I guess my general question then, Ann, is, and I forget, do we like having language into these things where we can review it, or it can be like, we allow for a waiver from planning and zoning, or do we stay away from that language? I forget.
Well, this is an interesting case because normally you guys would never see an ADU because it's an as of right action that Abby and or I sign off on. I think the option here is, do you make a request for an additional driveway curb cut, a special permit, or a lesser standard, a site plan application? Or do you just change the language?
I think it would be, in my opinion, it would be such a rare occurrence that it would be fine if we required that we have to review it. I don't think I have a preference between special permit or site plan. I would leave that I would welcome your opinion on that.
Yeah, so my thoughts on this are that I don't want to put an additional burden on someone who wants an ADU, which now, based on our new regulations, is as of right. But Janice's concerns are relative to safety as far as additional curb cuts.
So why don't we just make it that, shall be served by an existing driveway, unless approved, unless a second driveway is approved by special permit.
I agree with that.
I mean, we're not going to see very many of these. And if in fact there is a second driveway and we want to review
Yeah.
it for safety purposes to address Janice's concerns, then we've reviewed that.
Yeah, I agree.
Likewise.
Also, one more thing to remind me in on this is the ADUs. There's a mechanism in the ADU regulation that stops the size of an ADU, right?
Yes.
That limits the size.
It's
Okay.
the
700.
lesser of 50% of the finished floor area of the principal structure or 1,200 square feet.
Okay, so folks don't have to get worried about people building massive ADUs.
2,500
That's-
square foot ADUs.
Right. So that's already restricted, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, great.
Mr. Chair, as this is a public hearing, we might want to ask the public if they have anything to say on this matter.
I will open it up to public comment. Anyone in the public who is attending would like to comment on this matter?
Mike, you have a second driveway or not?
Yeah, I was about to chime in. Yes, I would be looking to put in a second driveway in my situation, and once we get into mine, I guess, and you see the plans. So would that require a special permit?
I think you're after, I mean, yours wouldn't, but after the fact, it probably would,
Okay,
because you're pre-change.
okay. Well, that's good.
Let the other guys worry.
I have a question, if you don't mind, Sean. So,
I don't mind at all, Kevin.
okay, so generally speaking, I'd say most of the time, like 90% of the time, I'm usually going to be in favor of the special permit avenue. But in this particular case, why not the site plan? Why not, if site plan is actually easier, and you don't want to add up too much more of a hardship on an as of right ADU, why is not the site plan sufficient?
Yep. And does that put more of a burden on you and your staff?
It's the same level of work for us, whether it is a special permit, which requires a public hearing, or a site plan. The only substantial difference for us is that we pay a little bit more for legal notice because we have to notice the special permit.
Okay. I think that, as we went through the zoning code revision over the past several years, I think our watchword was to make the process easier for applicants. So my sense is that we should not make a special permit, but make it site plan.
So let me throw that one back. So site plans are reviewed by staff, right? And then we're just basically presented, then it's kind of a pass through.
Right,
So
exactly.
And I'll just play devil's advocate. If Janice says, I think it needs more review or whatever, and Ann's like, well, it's under our purview, are we setting up a conflict?
Well, I mean, so Phil, that's the point that Janice was making, is that if a curb cut And I use that term loosely because there are a lot of roads in Guilford that don't even have a curb, but it's a generic term. If they need to put another driveway in, then maybe it needs further review from a safety standpoint.
And with a site plan process, it goes to other departments. It would go to Janice, right, for her review and comment.
Yeah, so site plan applications and special permits come through our site plan review process where we meet with the entire staff in Town Hall South and we go over every application and we have the applicants there and we ask for changes as required. So if you downgraded, shall we say, to a site plan approval process, they would still get the eyeballs of everybody in the building on it. And if there was a substantial safety issue, Janice at that moment could say, listen, the sight lines aren't good enough. We need to make a change here. So you still get that level of review. What the special permit gives you that the site plan doesn't is that you have the ability to add additional, more stringent conditions if you need to.
I guess the
But the special permit basically puts more of a burden and time constraints on the applicant if they have to come back before the commission for special permit.
They have to
Right.
come back before the commission for a site plan approval as well.
Right.
Yeah.
The only other burden on the applicant under the special permit is that they have to notice their neighbors and they have to put up a sign.
Right, and that's the other
So-
thing I would think of is, do we, if there is indeed safety concerns that would kick this into a site plan application, do we want to allow the neighbors to have a voice during the meeting, right? So then if we
Right.
did, because they may have some questions about the safety concerns, do we want to allow them to have a voice, or do we want to keep it simple and just have it a site plan? I mean, I'm comfortable, generally speaking, with the site plan for something like this.
Yeah, so am I, and I think that, we made the ADUs as of right, and I think we should, not put barriers in front of our residents who want to have an ADU. That's my own personal opinion. It just, there may be cases where there is a questionable application relative to safety, a curb cut, but I just don't anticipate that happening very frequently.
I think you have to rely on the professionalism of town staff to address the safety concerns to the agreement of the applicant and the neighbors.
One thing just came to mind, and that you might want to look at, or maybe you know off the top of your head, but what's the process if somebody wanted to do a second curb cut not related to an ADU? Is that already spelled out in the regulations, and
I believe
should we just follow that process?
Yeah, I believe it's under the roads ordinance as carried out by the engineering department. I'm not sure what, they have to get some sort of permission. I'm not completely up on that process.
I would suggest you review that, because it seems like this should follow the same process, right? Essentially.
Well, it depends on how much say you as a commission want to have.
So I'm just saying, like, from my perspective, it doesn't really matter if it's servicing an ADU or if it's somebody just wants to do a half circle driveway instead of a single driveway, right? It's basically the same thing. So, anyway, that was just a thought.
I'm in agreement with Sean and Kevin that it should be a plan review and not a special permit.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, I've come around to that point of view.
If we have a problem with it in the future, we can change it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Mr. Chair, your public hearing is still open, so we should ask if anybody else wants to testify and otherwise close it.
All right. Are there any public comments? Any participants in this meeting that would like to comment on this matter? Then I would make a motion that we close this portion of the public hearing.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second?
And I'll take a vote. Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Sands,
Yes,
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Edmund,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes.
And I will vote yes.
Okay, and Mr. Chair, just to clarify the proposed language, so we're all on the same page, is that the change will be the detached accessory dwelling unit shall be served by the existing driveway unless a secondary driveway is approved via site plan review.
Correct. And I think that captures, the sentiment of this commission.
Yes.
So when you make a motion, please reference what I just said.
Do you want to do that now, Ann, or later?
Let's do it now. We're doing them in order.
I'll make a move based off of what was just read by Ms. Ann Harden.
Second.
Well played.
Well done, Scott. As a former chairman, that was expertly done.
Mhm.
I need some lessons. Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Sands,
yes,
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Edmund,
Yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
and I will vote yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, our next text amendment is that for keeping of animals. The applicant is Ann Harshen, Town Planner, on behalf of the Town of Guilford. This is a text amendment to clarify the provision for the keeping of animals. I will share my screen again. As you may recall, we tabled this application because we were waiting for input from the Agricultural Commission. They have sent us a letter saying they have no objection to the deletion of the clause under 2.b that read, animal keeping areas shall not be located directly over land containing an on-site sewage disposal system. So they're on board with getting rid of this clause, and we'll just save it for future use if we want to add in. Just a reminder that this text amendment was brought to you because the Director of Health felt that we could delete it without any harm.
Any comments from commissioners?
I'm in favor of anything that's going to give animals more room to roam.
moo.
Is that what is it? Is that Ted making a move?
You got
We need
it.
to move this along.
That was very good, Ted. That was genuine. So other than a moose, are there any other comments from commissioners? Apparently not.
How about public comment?
The
So,
public hearing is still open on this item, so if anybody would like to testify, raise your
is there
hand.
anyone who is participating in this meeting, would like to comment on this item? Apparently not.
Leave my chickens alone.
Motion to close public hearing on the side.
Second,
We lost you, Sean.
There you go.
Nope. Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Sands,
yes,
Kevin Clark,
Yes.
Scott Evan,
Yes.
Bill Freeman.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
I will
just, a-
vote, I will vote yes.
and just a quick question, what about animals that aren't specifically listed in that table? I think specifically about golden, what were they?
Pheasants?
Golden
Pheasants.
pheasants, where we had an applicant with approximately 60 of them.
I think
Um,
they fall under birds, don't they?
I think they fall under, they're a certain type of bird livestock unit, but I can check.
Again, they are the occurrences of issues associated with golden
Yeah,
pheasants,
yeah, I
just-
don't think that, yeah.
llamas.
Yeah, I'm not sure we,
That,
Okay.
Phil, I would call that a tangent.
Yeah, we
um,
got a lot to do tonight.
if I may suggest, when whomever decides to make a motion on these text amendments, if you could reference the draft approval letter as created by staff, that would also be helpful to just kind of button things up completely. So a
I'd like
motion,
to
got
make
it.
a motion to approve text amendment for keeping of animals based off of the draft proposal presented by staff.
I'll second that.
And we'll take a vote. Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Sands,
Yes,
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Edmund,
Yes.
and Kevin Clark.
Yes.
And I will vote yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our next item is text amendment for zone name references. The applicant is Ann Harchin, town planner, on behalf of the town of Guilford. This is a text amendment to correct zone name references. I have a little presentation for you to go over the memo I sent to everybody on this item. So if you bear with me a moment, we can go over that. The public hearing on this item is still open, so keep that in mind. I'm sharing my screen. So as you all may recall, as we are reviewing permits on a daily basis, we sometimes find Scrivener's error. And for both section 4.8.B.4.G and for F, we found reference to the service Business East. As is our wont, as we're trying to clean up the problems with the ordinance, we brought this text amendment before you to change the references because the service Business East no longer exists. So the PV2 district became the PRB2 district, and the TS2 district became PRB3. So one part of this text amendment changes just to correct those references. But another issue came up in our meeting last month about the word "and" in these. If you look at the reference for the proposed change for 4.8.B.4.G, you'll see that in this sentence where it says the commission shall not approve any application which would result in more than one motor vehicle fuel sales facility within the area encompassed by the corrected PRB2 and PRB3. There's an and between those two, and there's a question on the table as to what that and modifies. So in order to help you, I created a memo which I sent to all of you and is posted online. And I just want to review this with you quickly because it can get very confusing, but it's also almost very simple at the same time.
But I think it's important. So what Anna's done is really important. She's created 3 options for us to consider.
Right. Depending on how you interpret the
Right.
use of the the word and the conjunction and in that sentence. Okay, so I'm gonna go to page, well, let me show you one thing first. I did a little analysis. Can you see this map
Yes.
Yes.
on your screen? Okay. I did an analysis of this is what we call the downtown zoning map. So it's not the entire map of the entire town, but it's the map that encompasses the post road where the PRB zones are located. And I did an analysis of where do we have gas stations now? So we have quite a few closer to the green. We have a Shell station in the PRB2 at exit 57. We have 4 in the PRB1 just north of the green. We have a Mobil station, we have an Express fuel station, we have a Phillips 66, and we have a Gulf station. And towards the eastern side of town, over by Goose Lane in the PRB3, we have a Citgo, we have a Shell, and we have a Mobil. So quite a few stations already on the books, and this is relevant to the discussion ahead. So when you look at what that word "and" could modify, there may be more options, but in the universe that I could conceive of, you have 3 options for that interpretation. The first option is to interpret the "and" as all-encompassing, meaning that only one motor vehicle fuel sales facility with a convenience store would be allowed in the entire area encompassed by PRB2 and PRB3. And I've offered some language here. Given that there are currently 4 facilities in the combined area, 1 in the PRB2 and 3 in the PRB3, this interpretation essentially prohibits any new facilities to be built unless the existing facilities are abandoned.
3 of them, yeah, all of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen.
So the second option, option B, is the "and" modifying both the PRB2 and PRB3, where you would be allowing 1 motor vehicle fuel sales facility in each zone, 1 for PRB2 and 1 for PRB3. And again, given that we already have a plethora in all of those, essentially, until somebody goes out of business, you're stopping any more fuel sales facilities in those 2 zones. The third option is a bit of a stretch, but is an option where I'm going to go back to the map. This option would say, because your PRB3 is not contiguous, and there are what I'm calling chunks, you could say, okay, we're going to allow 1 for every chunk that we have, right? 1 for PRB3 here, 1 a little bit, and go down the map. This is a little, I think it's a stretch. I don't think that's what you intended originally when you changed, but I wasn't here, so I can't say that. Only a couple more points. Only the PRB2 and PRB3 zones currently allow motor vehicle fuel sales. The PRB1 doesn't, but it contains 4 such facilities which are pre-existing nonconformities. So really, you have to decide, do you want 1 over PRB2 and 3, 1 for each PRB2 and PRB3, or 1 for every chunk? I will say that in this text change, we are not touching the clause about such station shall only be in combination with the convenience store. You will hear more about that later, but that's not what you asked me to look at for tonight. So that's where we are. I can answer any questions, or we could open it up to the public.
I have a question.
Yes.
We say vehicle fuel. We have an increasing number of electric cars in town. At some point, somebody's going to want to open up a charging station. Would that be would that be covered by this reg?
We have separate regulations for electric vehicle charging, and those are allowed, they're not regulated the same way as what we're calling a motor vehicle fuel sales facility, because those charging stations are allowed on individual sites under site plan approval. So if somebody comes in and says, I want to just do in lieu of selling gasoline, and they just want to do an electrical vehicle, what would we call it? Charging facility, then we might have an issue because we don't really have that thing in our box of tools.
Well, I think that that's coming,
I think it's something we should think about.
but you're saying that it wouldn't be covered by the definition of vehicle fuel.
No, she's saying it would be
No,
covered. Yeah, she was
that-
saying it would be
that-
covered by the EV regulation.
Yeah, that might have to be further defined. Yeah.
That day's coming, and I agree, we need to start working on that, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's the issue before us tonight.
The question I had, Anne, was, I don't know if you were were you able to look into the old regulations and whether this was a change to something that created a nonconformity, or if there was already a nonconformity due to the old regulations?
You actually, from what I can tell, and again, this was, and I apologize for this, but I'm just going to say this on this record. This was right before my father died, so my brain is not completely back on board yet. But
Understood.
the research I could do right before I left for his final days was that this was copied directly from the old ordinance. So I think this and modifier problem was in the text previously, and it's just.
And we already had grandfathered nonconformities as a result of the old regulations.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that applies and to the nonconformities apply to 4 gas stations?
There are, let me go back to my, look at my memo.
Depends on our choice here, because if we choose the first one, then they're all nonconformities.
Well, there are 4 facilities in the PRB 1, which is.
Right, that are
um,
nonconforming.
which are non-conforming under the new zone.
The only one that would not be non-conforming would be the Shell station off of exit 57. Every other one in town would be a non-conforming.
Yeah.
Um,
But, I mean, the discussion, you have to decide what the discussion is.
I mean, what we're really talking about is restricting rights of ownership in PRB2, PRB3 to have the right to have fueling stations. Isn't that what we're talking about?
yeah, but you'd have to do another text amendment at this point to, if somebody wanted to do a new one, there would have to be a pretty extensive text amendment change to allow that to happen at this time.
Isn't it a little bit more in depth than that, Sean? I understand about protecting the property rights of property owners, but aren't you supposed to kind of balance that between protecting environmental health and safety and also protecting your current existing business owners?
Well,
So-
and the plan of conservation,
Conservation
as well. Like,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
so what is I don't know. Does the POCD mention specifically fuel
It
sales
doesn't.
and like what our target number of facilities is?
Right.
So I guess there's no determination there, but.
Yeah, there's
That'd be-
one aspect of this mapping that you did, which was very helpful. It indicates that from the Shell station to the Brantford line, there are no fuel facilities available. That's on my GPS, 1.75 miles. In further, you go into Brantford, it's another 1.5 miles to either to Brantford or North Brantford to find a station. So there's quite a stretch there that one might consider underserved and compared to the concentration we have down here closer to town, that's an area that may, and its residents may deserve in such an amenity out in that stretch, which is again getting a bit remote, but lots of folks commute into New Haven that way. So just a thought that that thinking led me to ponder a little more the chunking you suggested or listed as an option. And even though you say that's a stretch, and I can see why, it does afford the opportunity to have fueling up in the in that area that, again, the market may say it's underserved and it'd be a useful thing to do.
The market might also say there's not enough people that are going to drive by there to use that, and it'll go another 1.7 miles to the next fueling station. I mean,
I guess I would say two things. One is I like your point, Roger, and I think that if somebody wanted to come to us with a text amendment related to fuel stations have to be with a certain distance away from each other, I think that would be an interesting thing to talk about. Like if you were saying we're only going to allow fuel stations that are a mile apart or a half mile apart, that would be an interesting text amendment for somebody to bring to us, maybe. But I would say at this point, I would lean away from option 3 or C, whatever you name them, Ann, just because then we're making choices that are different than what's currently the spirit of the regulation, right? We're then creating a situation where we could end up with a fuel sale that previously wasn't there. And I don't know if the public reading the notice for this really thought that was going to be a possibility from our conversation tonight, right? So I would lean towards deciding between the first or the second option tonight, and then allowing either Ann to think about a text amendment that might make a little bit more sense, or and if we're going to do that, then I would suggest that I guess B would make the most sense to me, honestly. But
Well, let me ask a question that just because I'm confused here. The difference between option 1 and option 2 in reality is nothing, because both of these districts, neither one of these districts would permit an additional station at this time.
correct. Technically, it makes PRB 3 have a little bit more chance of getting one if the Shell station closed at some point.
You just
is the only difference.
You wouldn't close it, you just rebrand it. I mean,
No,
when you've
I'm
got
not
the
disagreeing
tanks
with
and
you.
all that other stuff in there, you're not gonna tear it out.
Yeah, I
and
don't
put it
disagree.
over.
So
And you know,
I mean, it just doesn't make it realistically doesn't make a difference.
okay, I agree. I don't disagree.
and do you
We wanna
know off the top of your head what the drinking water situation is for people along Route 1, basically that PRB 3 just to the west of the Shell station and then right up to the Branford line? Are those people on city water? Are they on groundwater?
The majority of them are on wells.
They are on wells, right? Okay, that's what I thought.
Sean, should we open up to public comment?
That might be a good idea, Scott. Is there anyone who was in the meeting who would like to comment on this matter? Claudia?
You're muted, Claudia.
You're on mute.
Hi. So I heard that somebody asked about the
Can you,
drinking water.
Claudia, can you state your name and address?
Oh, hi, yes. Claudia Santangelo, 1200 Boston Post Road, Guilford.
Okay.
I just heard the comment about water. Somebody asked if the people were on well water or city water. Why is that a concern?
leakage.
Oh, okay. Okay, because I'm right next to the gas station. We don't drink the water. It's terrible, but I just was wondering.
So Claudia, where do you live?
Well,
you're
I
near-
don't actually live in town. My business is on 1200 Boston Post Road. But we're here. I'm here more than I am at my house. So I was just wondering about the water. I mean, we don't drink the water here, but I was just
Yeah.
didn't know, you know,
It's not
if that
because
was-
it is leaking, it's because of the possibility of leakage.
that it
I
may
just want to
leak.
clarify
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
I'm right next to the
It's
gas
not that any of
station.
these are leaking. I don't want anybody to think
Yeah.
that that's the case.
Stormwater runoff too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That was my question.
Wow.
Thank you, Claudia.
That's strange. Is there's not city water at 1200 Boston?
Yeah,
Post?
it's city water.
All right, then the leakage is
Very
not
fine.
effective at all.
Then it
Or
wouldn't
if
matter.
The proposed, yeah.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Sorry. I mean, I had to like Google check where you are.
Uh,
Any other public comment? Thank you, Claudia.
Chris McKeon.
Chris McKeon?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Chris McKeon. I'm an attorney. My office is at 900 Chapel Street in New Haven. I represent Sullivan Farm North and other Sullivan entities that own property in the PRB3 zone on the western part of town. And I was before you on January 8th when this matter was tabled. I had requested it be tabled because my client was at that time preparing a text amendment application to clarify several issues with these two regulations, including obviously what Ann is describing, and I'm not sure I disagree, as a Scrivener's error that it refers to the service business east, because that doesn't exist. Since that January 8th meeting, my client has in fact filed an application addressing these same two regulations, seeking not only to address the inconsistencies with respect to the text and the Scrivener's error, but suggesting also other modifications to it. And while I don't want to present my application because that's going to be heard on April 2nd based on the date it was received, which I think is actually tonight's meeting is the date of receipt. And then there are certain referrals that need to be made, so the public hearing can't occur until April 2nd. And I guess my suggestion would be to table it until April 2nd, when the commission can consider this application in companion with the application that we've spent time to address a number of other inconsistencies. There's a couple of points that I want to make. The two regulations obviously aren't allowing refueling stations anywhere. They're two exceptions. They're two special exception permits. So anyone who wanted to put in a motor vehicle refueling station would have the hurdles of the special exception process to go through anyway. The prior zoning of the parcels, my client's property, which is all the way on the western part of town, was formerly a TS2 district. And in this application, it indicates that PV2 became PRB2 and TS2 became PRB3. That's not exactly correct, because there were, for instance, there's an area which was C4W, which was added to the PRB2 zone. And there was a former TS area that is near exit 59 that was added to the PRB3 zone. So I don't think it's completely accurate to say PV2 became PRB2, PRB2, and TS2 became PRB3. All that being said, I am concerned also, as Commissioner, I think Edmonds had indicated, this text change is noticed and published as a correction of a typographical error. And I think whether "and" is there, I mean, "and" may sound like an inconsequential word, but it means a lot in regulations, as you may know. I think you might be entering into text changes that aren't part of the application or noticed as such. Even if you make the correction to the scrivener's error, there's still, and putting aside any other substantive looking at these regulations, there's still issues that are in the regulation that are flawed that our application does try to address, including the reference to a convenience store, which is a term that's not defined. Additionally, there in the regulations themselves, in one part, we're referring to a motor vehicle refueling station, and in another part, it is referred to as a different term. I think it's called motor vehicle fuel sales facility. So there's other work to be done on these regulations, and while I don't think anybody could disagree that the term Service Business East needs to be corrected because it doesn't exist in your regulations, I would suggest that it would be more efficient and perhaps wise for the commission to table this until the April 2nd meeting and look at these applications together, and then make a determination after hearing all of that information, what the intention of the commission is with respect to how these two special exception regulations should work.
All right. Well, just a quick follow-up question. It sounds like, and I think you just said it, that if we were to act on the Service Business East Scrivener error tonight, it sounds like you don't have any issue with that. You just don't want us to act on the "and" part.
Well, I don't have an issue with the fact that Service Business East needs to be addressed and changed. I don't know that simply sticking PRB3 in its stead is the right move, because PRB3 is not simply the PV2 zone.
Understood. Okay.
It's different.
And do you have an opinion on that?
I do have a detailed analysis map if you want to look at the changes between the two. It's the same map I drew the others on, and I could share that with you now. Let me
I was
do
more
that.
asking, I guess, if you had an opinion about whether we should act on something tonight or if we should wait for additional.
You know, I will, full disclosure, I talked to Chris about this, and I didn't want to muddy the waters by addressing something that we aren't discussing until April 2nd.
Right.
But you're the commission, so you get to decide. Would you like to see the map of the changes? Is that helpful to you folks?
I think, and I think it would be helpful.
Okay,
And,
let me
you know,
show you that.
you know, and I think, you know, as we look at the map, I think the commission just should think about the the future of the town and what is envisioned for, you know, Route 1 West. There are a lot of gas stations in the center of town that are non-conforming based on history. Do we need more gas stations on Route 1 West after Route 95 between Guilford and Branford?
And will it just be gas?
I mean, I guess I would argue that that's something for the next update of the POCD to cover, honestly.
Oh,
Unless a specific application comes to us asking for a text amendment or something.
Well,
right?
okay, but there is going to be an application, and that's why Chris is here.
Okay.
And I'm throwing it out to the commission that they have to think about what Route 1 West looks like.
Okay, if I may, this is a series of of maps that Glenn Chalder created for you. You've probably seen them before. He created these before I arrived. So where it says existing zoning map, that was the zoning map existing prior to the change in regulations in October 2023. So that's the first map. The second map is the proposed changes, which is where I drew the gas stations. But the third one is the one that's most helpful for you. And that is a map that tells you what the changes were. So like here, it says C to MC, C1 to GG, C-4W to PRB2. So when I say that the Service Business East changed to, I'm going to get it wrong, PRB, I can't see. I'm not describing the entirety of the changes. So Chris is correct about that. The parcel that Attorney McKinney is concerned about is the one up in this upper left-hand corner. So that was a change from PS to PRB3. And there were other changes. So like here, CD went to PRB4, C4W went to PRB2. So the description isn't exhaustive.
Scott, or Sean, I kind of think that if we have an application pending that's going to be addressing this, we probably want to address it all at once as opposed to piecemealing it. So it might.
So
Makes sense.
are you saying address the,
I'm saying, I would suggest we table this until we actually have the new application in front of us so we can address the whole issue in its entirety, as opposed to trying to fix a little piece now and then have an application that we might have to then fix another chunk of. I don't know. It's just a suggestion.
May I suggest something?
I agree.
I agree with Phil.
I agree with Phil also. I think that we should look at this in its entirety.
I mean, you could fix the Scrivener error and not.
Right. I mean, you can
PRB3, right?
You can ditch the zone that's been eliminated, but then, we can address the constant, let's just call it concentration of fueling stations.
Yeah,
and or addition of others.
That's a whole different discussion that probably needs to
Correct.
get publicly noticed. Honestly.
Right. But hopefully it will be on the application that's coming up in April.
Yeah, so you could address what was originally noticed as this Scrivener's error, where we're just substituting PRB2 for Service Business East and adding PRB3. And that was what was originally noticed, and the discussion about the word "and" just, you can discuss it later under the other application. If you wanted to act tonight, that would be the cleanest thing to do.
So I have a question. So let's just say hypothetically, if we decided tonight as a group that we didn't want to see any gas stations in that zone between Shell Station and the border in Branford, wouldn't that be something that the applicant would need to know before the April meeting?
They already put in an application.
Okay.
You're
But just
just
think
not
of the
hearing
information
it.
that they might want
Right,
moving
true.
forward.
You're not hearing it now because there's a whole noticing process that has to happen before you can hear the,
Right.
But yes, I'm sure Chris will be following very carefully whatever it is you decide to do.
So what's the bottom line here? Are we going to make some changes, or are we going to defer till April?
I'd make a motion to eliminate the eliminated zone, and then we can address the rest of this at our April meeting as it comes up with the new application.
And you're doing and PRB3 or not?
Yes.
So let me just clarify, because I'm going to put it back on the screen so you can see what it is. What you're suggesting is you're adopting this text change as shown in these red lines. And then we'll table the other discussion about the word "and" until April.
So, and I think the only thing I believe that Chris was saying was that he didn't necessarily agree with adding PRB3 to this line. Do you have a comment about that? Or do you think it's pretty clear that that was our original intent?
I had a very long discussion with Glenn Chalder about this, and he felt very strongly that this was what's shown
Yeah.
here as the change was the intent of the original change when the regulations change. So
Okay,
I
then
feel
I don't have a
comfortable
problem with it.
that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll second Phil's motion.
All right, we have a motion.
And a
Wait.
second?
We have not
Let's-
closed the
let's-
public
let's
hearing.
clarify
Oh.
the motion.
Yeah, close public.
I have a question. If we close the public hearing, is it then not tabled anymore? Is that, how does that whole thing blend together?
Yeah, so we're closing this is what I'm hearing. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Closing the public hearing, you're voting on this text amendment as presented without the discussion about ands. We're just letting that go away. When you hear Chris's application in April, you'll open the discussion up and then you can talk about the word and anything else that you want to talk about.
Okay,
That's what I'm hearing.
that sounds good.
Chris is raising a hand.
You're muted, Chris.
Muted.
I just wanted to say a couple more things. One was, I think somebody made a mention of, we might want to visit an issue of the proximity of fuel stations with respect to each other. There is a separate regulation that requires fueling stations to be 1,500 feet from each other, and it's referenced in these two sections. Number one. Number two, I will just pose again that I guess trying to correct your regulations is something that is admirable, and I assume you want to move forward, but I would raise the question again of what is the harm in looking at this altogether in connection with a much more comprehensive application pertaining to the same two regulations, rather than sticking PRB3 in there and thereby really making a decision about what you want this all to mean. I haven't even considered the ramifications of it going forward, because frankly, I didn't see why, in the interest of efficiency, it would need to happen tonight. But I would just reiterate my request that it makes a lot more sense to look at these things holistically than to do this. And I don't know what implications it has, but it just doesn't make sense to me to proceed on something that's accomplishing very little. And with that, I'll stop my comments.
So do we have a motion on the table?
Oh,
We
we need to close, if you are considering it, you either need to close the public hearing and vote, or you need to table this item, in which case I would suggest we withdraw this text amendment, because we're going to muddy the waters too much
Yep,
trying to
yep.
look at two at the same time.
I'm fine with
So
withdrawing it, honestly.
Yeah, I think that might be the cleanest approach at this point, given that I'm confused somewhat about all these little nuances.
Especially
So do we
because,
need-
like,
I agree.
So procedurally, do we need to entertain a motion to withdraw?
I think we need to close the public hearing first.
Motion to close. Second.
Mr. Joyce,
Yes,
Mr. Johnson,
Yep.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes,
Scott Evan,
yes.
Kevin Clark.
Yes.
Did I mention Ted Sands?
Oh, you did, but I'll vote yes.
Okay, I'll vote yes too.
Mr. Chair, at this moment, I would, as the applicant of record, I am going to withdraw this application. That doesn't need a vote.
No,
All right then,
You wrote it.
onward.
You're the boss. Onward to
Okay,
infinity.
thank you.
Thanks, Buzz.
You know, I just have to say, Anna's had a long week. She's had a long week, so just
Been a long month. Let's put
Long
that
month.
out there.
yeah.
But I have
Okay.
to say that the people at the town meeting last night, including Ann, did an amazing job. Amazing.
Great.
I may not be in the office tomorrow if anybody needs me. Anyways. Our next.
TGI Friday.
Our next item on the agenda is a text amendment for special permits. Applicant is Ann Harchin, Town Planner, on behalf of the Town of Guilford. This is a text amendment to clarify the language as applicable to special permit modifications. Let me bring that up for you to take a look at. So as a reminder to everybody, this was a discussion about the language in section 9.4.g. The issue that you asked me to take a look at was that the current regulations do not require a public hearing for modifications to special permits. So the question at hand is whether or not you as the commission would like to require a new public hearing for special permits that are modified after original approval.
Define
And,
modified.
I think it's I think it's appropriate to mention recent examples.
The most recent example was the modification brought before you by Marjorie Shansky on behalf of Frank DeAndrea. It was the modification for the phasing of the Dunkin' Donuts. Because it was a modification under the existing language, it did not require a public hearing. And I got some comments from folks on that, so that's why we're discussing it.
Well, I guess
Yeah,
I would
but-
ask, even though you're the bringing this application forward, I guess, what's your opinion in terms of whether the office can, your staff, what's the level of a modification? Do you have an idea of what a level of modification could be that you feel confident that your staff can handle approving it? Or do you feel like you always want the commission's opinion?
Or could you amend it to be significant modification and leave that to your discretion?
I don't like the word significant. I've been sued on that word before. So this is what I would say. I'm not really going to answer your question. I'm going to say that given that something is approved under a special permit, that gives you extra discretion for that item. It's the highest level of approval we have. It seems to me contrary, and this is me being very conservative because of the number of lawsuits I've been involved in with these things before. It seems to me that if something rose to the category of the special permit in its first iteration, that any modification should also be the same. That's me being really super conservative. I've been sued for less, so.
So define, I mean, like, would that be like moving a window 6 inches? Would that be, I mean,
No.
de minimis changes to the
Well,
application? I mean,
in the case of, so the only thing I'll mention is some of our special permits that we're beholden to because of 10 years ago, it was a special permit. For instance, Benton's Knoll, if somebody wants to do anything to their backyard, it's a special permit modification. You know what I mean? Like, so there are special permits on the books that by doing this, we're then requiring a whole bunch of people to come to us for pools or whatever. that's the only question in my mind is like, there is going to be occasions, if we do this, there's going to be occasions where there's going to be quote unquote, potentially silly. But I guess at the end of the day, it is what it is. I don't know. That's the only reason why I was asking that question of Anne was, if there happens to be things that are just staff approval level type of things, do we want to allow that for them, or do we want to just make it clean?
I get the sense that Em just wants to, look, it is what it is. If you want to change it, you got to tell us.
That's why I asked the question. I just wanted to raise it so that all the commissioners are aware that by doing this, we're potentially giving ourselves extra work.
So I'll just say that there's a delicate balance between a burden on an applicant and the burden on and staff and this commission to stay within the spirit of our code. And, if someone is going to possibly abuse the special permit process and avoid any public comment on what they might want to change, I'm not good with that. I just think that if they want to change a special permit, they should come before us and hear from the public.
Could be quick.
That would be ideal, but that will not be always the case.
And if it's not, it's probably something that should come before us.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Anne, do you have a?
Nope. I
Nope.
don't have
There you go.
anything.
Just hold the hook right off.
Yeah.
I would say,
Stay out of the fray.
yeah, it's a public hearing item, so if you want to take comment from the public.
Yep, I will take comments from the public on this matter. Anyone care to weigh in? I hear none.
Okay, would you like to close the public hearing?
I would like to close the public hearing.
Second?
Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Sands,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and I will vote yes.
I'll motion to approve the text amendment RE special permits based off of the proposed draft motion, or not motion, but draft text amendment that was presented to us by town staff.
I'll second that motion.
We'll take a vote. Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Bill Freeman,
Yes.
Ted Sands,
Yes.
Kevin Clark,
Yes.
Scott Edmund,
Yes.
and I will vote yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item on our agenda is 184 Stonehouse Lane, map 34, lot 44, zone R3. The applicant owners are Mike and Patty Boham. This is a special permit for an accessory structure exceeding 750 square feet. This item was tabled at our last meeting, so if we could first vote to remove it from the table.
So
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Sands,
Yes.
Bill Freeman,
Yes.
Scott Edmund,
Yes.
Kevin Clark.
Yes.
And I will vote yes.
Mike, would you like to present your project?
Sure. Is anyone gonna share the document, or do you need me to?
I
share?
can show you the site plan if that's helpful.
Sure.
So,
Good evening.
just a quick question, Mike, are you on Stonehouse Lane right now?
I am. I am, and you're the Sean Cosgrove that used to live on Lovers Lane?
I am.
We've known each other a long time, I guess.
I know.
Good to see you again. I'd like to start by first offering Ann my condolences on your passing your dad, Ann.
Thank you.
So Mike Bowen, 184 Stonehouse Lane. My request is for a recreational vehicle building that I would like to build on the northern side of my property. I am in a wetlands area and have already received wetlands approval.
Excuse me, Mike, is it
Yes.
possible for you to increase your volume?
Sure.
I think Larry meant volume of your voice.
Is that any better?
Yeah, it's just your volume, your projection's a little low. I turned my volume way up.
Okay, is that any better?
Yeah, that's a little better.
It is. It is.
Okay, great. So Mike Bowen, 184 Stonehouse Lane, my request is for a recreational vehicle building, barn that I'd like to put on the north side of my property. Had previously gone through the inland wetlands department and had received approval from them. This structure is within all the setbacks from the road, setbacks from the, I have a small swale that separates my property from my neighbor onto my north, which is on the left side of this plan is the north side, within the setbacks from the rear and the front road. I do have a driveway that would need to put into this as well, which is what was my question initially when we first started this meeting. But I believe that does not apply to this currently. But that's pretty much my plan. Are there any questions from the commission?
This is Scott Edmond. I guess one question related to the second driveway is how often are you planning? Do you think this second drive will be used?
Well, Scott, this is for an RV and a classic vehicle that'll be in that other smaller garage. So it's seldom. It's not going to be used that often. My wife and I got into the RVing and really very much liked it 3 years ago. We're on the average of 4 or 5 trips a year, and it's an extended weekend type of thing until we retire and we want to do more, but that's a few years away.
Okay.
Would like it to be sooner than later, but not at the current moment.
So, Scott, you're talking about putting if I'm not mistaken, you're putting another curb cut on Stonehouse Lane?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's showing a second driveway there on the
Yes.
left.
Currently, there's not a curb. Does that curb play into the second driveway?
Well, a curb cut, I mean that generically, you're cutting in from the side of the road for another
Yeah.
driveway.
Yes, yeah, and to the right, Sean, you can see where my current driveway is.
Right.
The original driveway.
Right, right.
So that would make the most sense. It's really the only spot that I can do this.
I'm just gonna make a comment that I think actually building an accessory building for an RV is probably more responsible with respect to neighbors viewing. And
Yeah.
not that looking at an RV is a bad thing. It's just, not everyone wants to look at an RV. And I think if you're looking at a well-constructed, nice building, which I'm assuming this will be, that's probably, we've had applications where neighbors were going nuts about RVs. So I do respect building a nice garage for your RV.
I appreciate you mentioning that, Phil. It's the last 2 summers it's been in my driveway, and
It's on Google Maps right now.
I don't even like it. But it's something that was given a lot of thought to, and the architect Ted Dombrowski is on this call as well. So we spent a lot of time with the design and lived on the street my entire life. You know, this whole Stonehouse Lane area is barns. So I'm bringing a barn back to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Which it was
And-
hoping is a welcoming. So.
And was there any comments from town staff that we need to know about or discuss?
No, they're in compliance with our bulk standards and our stormwater regulations, so he's good to go.
Great.
This is a public hearing, though, if you'd like to take comments.
Any comments from the public on this application? Anyone? So, quote. Next step,
Close.
Close the hearing.
Motion to close public hearing on this item.
Second.
Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Sands,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Are we doing motions now or are we doing them during regular meeting?
We're gonna do everything in order now.
Thank you all.
Let me find the agenda.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike.
Wait, we haven't voted on the item yet. We just.
I'd like
closed-
to make a motion to approve the special permit for accessory structure exceeding 750 square feet based off of, I'm sure you have, do you have a prepared proposed
Yes.
motion, Ann?
I have a
Is there
staff
anything you want to
report.
draw attention to, want us to draw attention to?
Nope, it's your standard staff report.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve based off of the standard staff report presented by town staff related
Second.
to,
Oh, sorry, a little quick.
no, you're fine, related to this application.
Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Joyce,
I am yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Sands,
Yes.
Mr. Edmonds,
Yes.
and Kevin Clark.
Yes.
I'll vote yes.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Okay,
Thanks for your patience, Mike.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
okay, Mr. Chair. The next item is 1940 Boston Post Road, map 79, lot 41, map 78, lot 39, zone BMU and SC. Applicant, agent, owner is 1940 Boston Post Road LLC, special permit to allow building height in excess of 40 feet per section 4.5.d, table notes 4. This is an application that is part of the Guilford Village West project. They are before design review and inland wetlands currently, so I would suggest that we table this application until they make it through those processes.
I
So moved.
move that we table the application.
Second.
Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yep.
Mr. Edmund,
Yes.
Bill Freeman,
Yes.
Ed Sands,
Yes.
and I don't, Kevin,
Yes.
and I will vote yes to table.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item on your agenda is 1940 Boston Post Road, map 79, lot 41, and map 78, lot 1, zone SC. Applicant, agent, owner, 1940 Boston Post Road LLC, a special permit to allow 2 drive-throughs in the SC zone per section 4.11.c.2.c. This is part of the Guilford Village West project as well, also before design review and inland wetlands. So I would suggest you table this application as well.
I
Chair,
move to table this one
Chair.
also.
Mr. Chair,
Marjorie, what do you have to say?
thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm sorry to intrude in the middle of your motion. Marjorie Shansky, I represent Guilford Village West. 1940 Boston Post Road LLC. And I just would like the record to reflect that the applications were received by the passage of time on February 9th, given the cancellation of your February 5th meeting, and that the 65 days within which a public hearing needs to be held runs for your just after your April 2nd meeting. And I'd just like to plant the seed that at some juncture, April 2nd would be an appropriate day to set the public hearing so that we can calculate our notices and proceed in orderly fashion. Thank you.
I would also note, Sean, if we don't act on it, I believe Marjorie can help me with this, it becomes automatically approved.
That's not true for the items that have special permits, but
Okay.
the rest of the application is just the site plan. So it would be appropriate and desirable to get it on your calendar.
So, Anne, is April 2nd our regularly scheduled meeting?
Yes, you have a meeting next week on March 5th. I'm just
And
looking at my
then-
calendar, and then you have your next regularly scheduled meeting is April 2nd.
Okay.
Ted, you wanted to continue your motion to table?
Yeah, I'm still making a motion to table the request for a second drive-through.
And I'll
Till
second.
April 2nd.
Correct.
April 2nd. Do I hear is there a second?
I'll
second.
second that.
Beat you.
All right. Mr. Joyce?
You gotta be faster than that.
I'll double down on your second. I like it.
My vote is yes.
I'll vote yes.
Thank you.
Pardon me, Mr. Chairman. Tabling it and then mentioning a date certain, can I infer that you're going to have a public hearing on that day, or may I infer nothing?
Heard that we'll have a public hearing on April 2nd.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marge.
Ted Sands,
Yes,
Bill Freeman,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair, on to site plan reviews. Your first item on the agenda is 2470, AKA 2460 Boston Post Road, map 78, lot 19, zone PRB3. The applicant agent is Charlie Mascola of Fast Signs of Clinton for owner 2470 LLC. This is a site plan application for 3 wall signs and 2 freestanding signs in a business district per section 7.2.f.2 A and B. I believe Abby was going to present these applications or answer any questions if the applicant's not here.
Hello, good evening. If I may share my screen.
Please do.
It is. Here we go. So the application is for 3 wall signs and 2 panels within an existing freestanding sign. The first one is for, let me scroll down, Guilford Pediatric Therapy. These are the 2 signs that are proposed. And then they will have a panel within the existing freestanding sign.
Why does it say 24/7? Oh, sorry. If it's 381, it said 24/7, but whatever, 2470.
Pardon?
It says 2470 there, right? If I scroll down, just scroll down a little bit. Doesn't it?
Yeah,
That's
they're
sign say-
within the same plaza.
okay. Well, I mean, the business that was there before had a sign. Why wouldn't we let these people have a sign?
I'm sorry, I confused this with 381
we're-
Boston Post Road.
We're not on 381. We're on 2470.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
We're in 2470, right?
And can you remind me, since I've missed a few meetings, are we having design review look at sign applications or no?
They are looking at
Yes.
the signs where applicable and required by the ordinance.
Did they review this one and did they have any comments?
Yes, they did review this one.
Thank you.
I'd make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
I think
You
we
need
need
to,
to,
you need
Well,
to,
I need to vote on it, Scott.
I know.
need to vote on it.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
There's- There's also,
Yeah, I mean, there's more than just those signs you showed, right?
Right,
There's like
right,
three different
yeah.
signs.
yeah, so give me 1 second. I swear I just had it up, but I may have. Give me 1 second. I think I accidentally closed out of it.
There was 3 wall signs and 2 freestanding signs. I don't think we saw the second freestanding one.
Yeah, give me
are there actually more signs than there were before?
no, I don't believe so.
If there are not,
I
if there are not
apologize.
more signs than there were before, why are we?
Why are
It's in
you
our
hearing this?
There are
Because when we,
regulations.
yeah, when we asked you 2 months ago if you wanted to hear these all went under site plan approval, you all said yes. So that's
All of
why
us.
We
signs.
did.
Some didn't.
Okay, well, we would not,
This-
we would not object to a change in
Please,
site plan approval for signs.
Yeah, it would-
please do. Please. I've heard complaints about this too, believe
it would
me.
make the process a little smoother for the applicant. And
Is that
for
a
our
text
staff.
amendment then, Ann?
Yes, it is.
I beg you.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that for sure.
This is the next sign within that plaza. It's for I-1 Mortgage. It's the same situation where it's a wall sign. And then it's going to be a panel with an existing freestanding sign. And this was also reviewed by Design Review Committee
Fine,
and approved.
I'll include that in my motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Let's vote.
Okay, somebody needs to vote.
Let's make a motion.
I
Didn't
made
you?
a
Ted made a
motion.
motion, I seconded.
Okay. Then let's vote. Mr. Joyce?
Yes,
Johnson?
Yes,
Sands?
Yes,
Freeman?
Yes.
Edmund?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Yes.
To be clear, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. Is it a joke that you wanted me to make a text
No.
amendment? Give it a
No,
nope,
not a
Does-
joke.
not a joke.
Well, I
Not-
did
not
ask
joking.
this, I did ask this question directly of you guys 2 months ago and you
But
said.
we didn't have it, we didn't have a concrete example in front of us and now we do. so it's-
Right.
Okay.
Now we
just-
know how right you were.
Okay, just to be clear, I will create a text amendment for this.
And
Get rid
use,
of
please bring this back as an example for all of us old people that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Chair, the next item on your agenda is 1795 Boston Post Road, map 79, lot 36, zone SC. Applicant agent Charlie Mascola of Fast Signs of Clinton for owner Narayan Krupa LLC, site plan application for a wall sign in a business district per section 7.2.f.2.a.
I'm going to share
Abby.
my screen again. I'm just trying to do it per application, so you didn't keep seeing my screen.
I feel like I just want to approve it right now.
Yeah,
This is a
see-
wall sign for Quest Fitness.
All
Also approved by design review committee prior to this meeting.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move it that we approve this sign.
Second,
Mr. Johnson,
please.
Mr. Sands,
Yes,
Kevin Clark,
Yes.
Bill Freeman.
Yes.
Can't see everybody else. Scott Evan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who else?
Abby, if
Yeah.
you stop sharing.
Abby, you can stop
see.
sharing.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that.
Kevin Clark.
Nope. Yes, you got me, but
Yeah, all right.
double
I'll
approve.
vote yeah, I'll vote yes.
And I'll vote yes too.
Thank you, Roger.
Roger, sorry.
Next item on the agenda, Mr. Chair, is 1200 Boston Post Road, map 46, lot 49, zone PRB1. Applicant agent owner Claudia Santangelo of Artisan Tile. This is a site plan application for a wall sign and a freestanding sign in a business district per section 7.2.f.2.a and b.
Hello, Claudia Santangelo, 1200 Boston Post Road, Guilford. And can I also share my screen?
Yes, you can.
So, this would be the sign on the building and then also on the road.
Hmm.
Wait, how do I go to the screen? Sorry. Let me see. Oh, here we go. So that's what it would look like.
that's,
Claudia,
this-
is this in Strawberry Hill?
no, it's
No.
Oh, it's-
no,
it's-
next to the mobile station.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. It's right by Capizzano's and New Star and all that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Oh, I got it. Yeah, right.
I'll make a motion, we
Yep.
approve this
Second.
sign application.
Second, Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes,
Kevin Clark.
Yes.
I can't see the whole screen, so.
Could you stop
uh,
sharing, please?
Oh,
Mr.
how do
Mr.
I-
Edwards?
Yes.
Oh, let me see. Did I mention you, Bill?
No, Ted.
Ted? Ted?
Yes, that's my motion.
I vote yes. Oh, sorry.
I vote against my own motion.
Mr. Chair, the next item on the agenda is 1940, 1960, and 1968 Boston Post Road, map 79, lot 41, map 78, lot 42, map 78, lot 43, map 78, lot 39, map 78, lot 1, zones SC and BMU. The applicant agent owner is 1940 Boston Post Road LLC. This is a site plan application for proposed mixed-use development, including 162 multifamily residential units, retail, drive-through fast food, drive-through coffee shop, and a restaurant. Like the other associated applications, I would suggest that this application be tabled until April 2nd.
I move that we table this until April 2nd.
Second.
Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes, and be prepared for a long meeting on April 2nd.
No kidding.
yeah,
Yeah.
Scott Evan,
Yes.
Ted Sands,
Yes,
Mr. Clark.
One question. So this is a site plan, so no public input. Would that mean there could be no third party input? Aren't you currently working with Kevin with third party?
Kevin has asked for a third-party review of the application per inland wetlands. We are also reviewing these applications in-house. We will see what the third party comes up with, but it's separate from this application.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same project, right? But
No, right. I wasn't sure. I was under the impression, it could have been my awesome listening skills at play as usual, but I was under the impression that depending on what the third party expert had to say, some of that information might have been introduced in our public hearing or meeting. So-
yeah, the hope is that the whole set of applications comes to the commission fleshed out as far as it needs to be after inland wetlands has their say.
Gotcha. Okay. Case, yes.
And I'll say yes.
Excellent.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
In other business, Plan of Conservation and Development, we finished our interviews with the boards and commissions. We had about a 50% acceptance rate on those. We are moving into detailed questionnaires to department heads. I believe we have 12 of those. We will be reviewing those at our next meeting that I just rescheduled to March 13th. And then we have begun talking about, for lack of a better term, neighborhood workshops to start going out into the public and getting feedback and ideas from the public. We don't have that schedule nailed down. We should have it nailed down, not before we meet again next week, but before the April meeting. I don't know, Sean or Roger or Bill, if you want to add anything.
There's just a lot more outreach that is being planned and scheduled, and it'll unfold, over the spring and the summer. And we've got targeted events where David and his team will be helping us to get more input into the POCD from the community. So there's quite a bit going on.
Mm-hmm. It's one reaction I have, Sean, for those initial meetings we had with the boards and commissions, and as Ann said, roughly half of those entities in town participated, and the others didn't. I think that's unfortunate. The meetings we held, I thought, were valuable, and hearing directly from these boards and commissions about their concerns and interests going forward is really useful, and I think it's connected us with them in ways that we normally in our month to month business for all of us, we just don't interact all that much, it seems. But this plan is so comprehensive. Having them at the table is important. I think that's going to keep them engaged. Well, not only through the development of the plan, but hopefully in the next 10 years.
No, Roger, that is such a great point. And I think that, as we move forward with the POCD, and I don't want to, burden this commission with too much more work, but it was really enlightening to engage with these other commissions that we normally don't have any other contact with, and to hear their concerns and their priorities. And what I'm thinking about is, as long as we can keep it within the confines of a reasonable time frame for our meeting, is that I think this commission would be enlightened by having representatives of some other commissions come before us as we move forward with the POCD.
I feel like we're pretty entertaining. I don't know why they don't come to our meetings more.
Hey, and I have a question. I saw the library responded.
But Scott, I just use the sleep channel.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Go ahead, Bill.
Sorry.
But Roger, do you agree with that?
I do. We mentioned more than once in these meetings, Sean, that we just hope that this is an ongoing relationship, that this isn't just a project that's going to, end in a few months and we'll see you in 10 years again.
Yeah.
So I think there's other, even beyond the plan of conservation and development, I think there's lots of opportunity for different boards and commissions to compare notes, even if it's informally, about their work, so we better understand where everybody is.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we, I'm not saying we should all be prepared for longer meetings. I just think that the content of our meetings is going to change as long as we can accommodate it based on our other agenda items. Right? I think we'll all benefit from understanding what other commissions are doing as we move forward with the POCD.
Good point.
And I have a question. The two replies that we got back were from Youth and Family Services and from the library. Are those up somewhere on in the town's websites?
We have not posted them yet, but I can make a note to myself to.
Well, the only reason is honestly, they were incredibly enlightening to me about what both of those groups track and do. So I think it's well worth a minute or two of your time to just read, particularly the library, was just how many people go there and the different programs they have. I really had no idea that it was that in depth.
Yep. Okay. We will get those up.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay. Before we approve minutes, I want to take a second. I'm looking at the agenda for next week just to give you all a heads up. All of our public hearing items will be tabled, and then you'll love this. We have 1, 2, 3 more site plan applications for signs. So that's your whole meeting on Wednesday. It's going to take me, probably 2 months to get a text amendment done for that. So you'll be seeing signs until I get that text amendment noticed properly and through SCROG. So unfortunately, that's it. But it should be a fairly quick meeting on Wednesday.
Can I make an amendment now to approve those sign meetings at the next?
The only sign I want to see is this. Peace, baby.
Peace, baby.
And for my own notes, when is the next meeting of the subcommittee on the plan of conservation and development?
Our steering committee meeting, I had to reschedule it. It's March 13th at
2 p.m.
2 p.m.
2 o'clock.
Yeah. The
Online.
only reason I ask is about a week later, the Affordable Housing Commission asked me to give a few-minute summary of where the process is right now. So from these notes,
I could also do the same thing. They could ask me as well, since I'm running the project. But
Larry,
if you're going to be there, that I would certainly refer that to you.
We're in the very preliminary stages, Larry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have minutes from January 8th.
Move approval.
Has everyone read the meetings and are they substantially correct?
Ted?
Uncle
Yeah, Ted, have you read them?
No, because I wasn't there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
So Ted, we rely on you to scrutinize.
Roger proofed them, I believe, for
I'll
Robin.
second it.
All right. All in favor?
The motion has been seconded to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edmund, were you there?
Yes.
Okay. Bill Freeman?
Yes.
Ted, I'm ignoring you. And Kevin Clark?
Oh, yes, if he wants.
Yeah, we already determined you can vote even if you didn't go to the meeting.
Yeah, but I abstain.
And
You're supposed to.
And I approve.
Okay. I think we can vote to adjourn unless somebody wants to talk about anything else.
Ted's going to vote to
No.
disdain.
Would someone like to raise any other issues, or should we motion to adjourn?
No, I think we're good.
We're good.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good
Good night.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for getting through the meeting before I had to leave.
See you all next week.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Abby, and thank you, Ann, for being at town meeting last night.
Yeah,
I think you
no
should
problem.
all acknowledge that.
Good night.
See you later. Bye.